Phil Berman from Balanced Catamarans. I'm here in Cannes, France at the International Boat Show, and wanted to let everybody know in the Balance community and the catamaran community in general that we've been really busy at Balance over the last year and a half. We have been, Anton Dutoy and I and his teams and our factories, we've been engaged in the design of some exciting new models at Balance. Here today I'd like to talk a little bit about the new Balance 502. We're doing two versions of this boat. Many people ask us, why are you doing these new models? And the most important thing for us at Balance is remaining super true to our DNA of building balanced performance catamarans. We're always trying to find that balance between creating a boat that's super livable, easy to sail, and a boat that also is strong, light, and fast. What got us going on these new models is we were investigating for the last couple of years, 2.5, 3 years, seriously, what hybrid system would we like to use on a Balanced Catamarans? We were disappointed with most of the options on the market, but then began engaging ourselves in deep discussions with Integral Solutions, who we've been working with closely. And when they came out with their new eDrive system, we thought, okay, this is perfect. We can put the eDrive on the back of a Yanmar engine, which we wanted to do. We can use sail drives and have our engines out of the living spaces and in quiet living quarters. It was very important to us. But what happens is when you start to look at these new hybrid systems, is typically there's a little bit more payload capacity requirements. People often want to add an additional lithium battery or two. You have the electric motors, which are also back in the stern of the boat, attached to the back of the diesel engines. When you look at it and comprehensively, you realize that you want to displace the payloads of the catamaran over a longer length to accommodate the needs of people that want the hybrid systems. And for those that don't, of course, then all you're really simply doing is giving them a little bit more waterline length with less weight and therefore an even faster boat. So that, in a sense, is what got us going on the new 502. It's a fully new boat from the ground up in terms of her design, her tooling, all new tooling, although we have stayed very close to our brand DNA and designs in our other boats, because quite honestly, I used to sit up and think at night, if I had to do another boat, what would I do differently? And I've always been super happy with the 526, the 482, and the 442. So what we've done here with the new 502 is we've made some enhancements to the way we construct the boat, and we've made a lot of little design tweaks in the boat itself. So here, let me just talk to you a little bit about what's different about the new models. And I'll just take it point by point so you can get a sense of what's different about the new Balance 502 from our previous models. Several of the new 502s are already on order, and the first one will be launching sometime in late 2025, and we'll then be commencing in sea trials. So for those who are interested in the boat, you let us know and we'll give you an idea of the production schedule for this new model. We're really excited about launching and sailing this boat around Cape Town. So let me talk about one of the new innovations we have on the boat. You know how much we like the word Versa Helm for our Versa Helm, and it stresses to people the innovation that drives us at Balanced Catamarans. So we've come up with a new stern system that we call the VersaStern. So what does that mean? Well, currently on catamarans, when you have open sterns, when you're in following seas, you either have to put washboards down to keep water and waves from coming into your boat, or you have to put some kind of netting to blunt the water from coming into the boat. The other thing that people like about closing off the sterns of the boat is if they have children on board or they're offshore, those open sterns present something of a liability if you don't have a washboard in or some really strong gate to keep people from potentially falling off the back of the boat. So what we've done with the new VersaStern is we have a folding door that it folds down into a cavity over the whole top of the engine room hatch and runs flush, and it lifts up and attaches across the sterns and is slightly above. And we designed it so that if water comes in over the boat, washing down the boat, water will drain out from underneath the Versa door, but if water is coming from the other direction, it can't get into the boat. So the advantages of this are pretty neat, because you always want to dock a catamaran stern first. People that try and jump off the bow of a catamaran are looking for a broken ankle. So you always dock a catamaran stern first, and the important thing is to be able to immediately have access to the stern. So the great thing about the VersaStern door is you put it in the down position when you're at anchor or when you're docking the boat, and you have easy access to get on and off the stern. When you're offshore, you attach it, it keeps water from coming into the boat. It allows you to open your engine room hatches and work on them when you're at sea. It protects dogs and children and people from, falling off the boat. But it's a simple up and down motion, quick, fast, and easy. So we're really excited about that. And we think it's another innovation at Balance that other builders will probably soon follow, as often seems to happen with us. From a construction standpoint, all of our previous models we've called carbon cross. Why do we call them carbon cross? We call them carbon cross because they're a cross-pollination of carbon and e-glass to build strength in all the high load areas of our catamaran. I'm on a Balance 442 now, and these primary beams, these structural beams that run across the boat, the chain plates, those areas where the mast steps, the more we use carbon, and it enables us to use less lamination and bring the weight of the boat down. It's the best use of carbon in a boat. We had a little bit of fun with one of our 482s. We had a customer that asked us to increase the carbon content of his boat with the options that we put on many of our Balance 526s. So what we elected to do with the new 502 is that now all of the cabin soles and floors are in carbon. All the bulkheads are in carbon. The daggerboard trunks are in carbon. The daggerboards are in carbon. The rudders are in carbon, in addition to all the other carbon strengthening elements that we used in our previous boats. So in essence, the whole frame of the boat, the internal framework of the boat, is a carbon frame. This is the best use of carbon, in our opinion, in a boat. And what we've also done is we've gone to all vinyl ester resins in the boats that we're building in Cape Town, the 502 and soon to be the new 464, so that with the vinyl ester resin, it gives great strength properties when working with the carbon. So it leads to a lighter boat, a faster boat, and also a stiffer boat. The lovely thing, though, about keeping the hulls in e-glass is there's a little bit of softness to them, a little bit more give than a pure carbon structure, so the boat will be quieter underway. So this is a big enhancement and a big change in the way we're constructing in the new 502. Another innovation and change on the new Balance 502 is that we've supercharged her rig. So not only are our hulls longer and leaner, but we've been able to push the forestay forward on the boat another 18 inches, which has enabled us to increase the size of the self-tending blade jib over 100 square feet. So now we've lowered the Pelican striker, we've raised the bowsprit, and we've moved the forestay forward, sort of more in a racing boat design. Really powers up the boat going to windward in light air, because we do not want to put a Genoa that you attach to the top of the coach roof, because you really can't put a very large Genoa on the top of a coach roof, and the ease of use, the versatility of a self-tending jib is impossible to deny, particularly when you're short-handed. And now the size of the jib is so great that a boat with a Genoa is not going to perform any better to windward than a Balance with this new larger 4-triangle rig. So we supercharged it, increased the size of the mainsail, lengthened the hulls. She's going to be very fast. Another change that we've made to the 502 comes from persistent requests that we get from people saying, how come you don't do big opening windows in the salon of your boat? And I'll tell you that it all sounds good in principle to have this be one large opening window. Unfortunately, I have sold over 1,000 catamarans in my life. And every time I attend a catamaran survey, I see an older catamaran, anytime there were big opening windows in forward-facing salons, you will see water damage all along the sill of the boat. And you can imagine what a nightmare it is if somebody forgets to dog the hatch properly, or there's a leak, and then suddenly you've got water piling in over your electronics or coming in and striking your lithium-ion batteries. So from a safety perspective, we're very, very concerned about these whole big, huge opening windows. When you have a big opening window, you have to have a lot of dogs. And anytime you have a lot of dogs, unless they're all done consistently and evenly, you can really run into problems. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that other builders do it, but for us at Balance, we don't think it's the safe, seaman-like way to build a boat. But we do understand the importance of ventilation. And so what we have done to increase the airflow in our salon is this mullion that you see here that comes up. We've re-engineered the entire coach roof and tooled it. So this is gone. And now there's one long port about this size with thinner frames that goes here. And then there's another one there and another one there. And they're up high so that when you have the port open, it's underneath the brow, meaning that if water is coming down, it's not going to be dripping down onto the window and potentially creating a dripping, problem or hazard. So you're going to get a lot more ventilation. You must understand that when you're building a boat with solid glass windows, as we do, there are very few options for windows that will work well with small frames in a boat. So we went to work with Goyo here in France to custom build and design these new windows for us, which we feel are going to be safe and really, really good. Another thing that we've done is that I'm in the saloon of currently of a 442, and starting about here, we have a large opening hatch over the roof, so that when that hatch is lifted up, it is also blasting air and coming through the boat. So between these three windows and this larger wind scoop hatch, the boat is going to get a lot of flow-through ventilation, particularly when she's at anchor, of course. Another change to the new 502 is that we love the layout of our current boats a lot. We find this is very functional, and based on all the feedback we've gotten over the last 13, 14 years, this layout with a U-shaped galley and a really nice salon that drops down and becomes a bed is fantastic. What we've done, however, is we've went and worked with an interior designer who specializes in, Italian design, and we've changed our cabinetry to be more of the frameless kind of Euro style that you'll see at companies like Minotti or B&B Italia. So the furniture is all what we call frameless, adds a really nice clean look. Right now you can see I'm sitting up comfortably with pillows in my back, but relatively vertically. What we've learned is that most of our owners are dining outside, and they're lounging here inside the boat, and that this space needs to feel more like a living room sofa and kind of a loungy space. So we widened the seats, made the couch backs look like a living room couch, and made it just kind of a more loungy experience, and upgraded the fabrics and put some different design touches to it. So it's a really, really sharp look, but it's also going to be very, very comfortable, just kind of, cush to hang out in. To my left, this is the current nav station. What we've done with it, what we've learned, I would say, from customer feedback is that a lot of our customers don't want a nav and don't need a nav because they say, look, I got a chart plotter at my down Helm station on the VersaHelm. So some people say, well, just give me extra cabinetry here because I don't really need a nav. What we found is that people are kind of go back and forth. People don't necessarily need a nav anymore, but a lot of people like to have a proper desk office space in the boat. So we've made the nav larger, and we've made it have a much larger tabletop, and we made it possible to have a really nice proper chair that comes in there. But the really neat thing is this whole top, which will be quite large, will lift up, and underneath there's a charging station for all your phones and your iPads. And I always find it an eyesore when I walk into people's boats and I see plugs and chargers lying all over the place because everybody's constantly charging things. Of course, we have and now put USB ports on the side of both of the beds on our boats so that people can charge there as well. But now the nav can remain a really clean looking space so that you walk into the living room of your home, you're not looking at kind of an electronic junkyard. So that was an innovation that I thought was important. A big change on the 502 over the older 482 is that in the 482, we had the toilet and basin in a separate door accessed area on the port side of the boat aft, and the shower was on the inboard side. Now, when you go down into the port hall, you have the toilet sink area in one door. It's a sliding door, but then when you go forward to the daggerboard trunk, you have the shower on the outboard side, the walk-in shower on the outboard side, which is very similar to the way we are currently doing the Balance 526. So when you walk into the boat, both the shower and the toilet areas are on the outboard side. The advantage of that is you can get more natural light into those rooms and more natural ventilation, and it cleans up the space a bit. It also enabled us to put a really nice hanging locker on the inboard side of the port hall. So These are what might seem like small changes or innovations, but they all add up over time. In addition to having this new upgraded cabinetry look and feel, I really always like to stress that here at Balance, all of our furniture will remain handmade foam core real wood veneers, and the customers will have 6 choices of the woods that they choose. And the interior cubic volume of the cabinetry in a Balance Catamarans is higher than any catamaran on the market in the performance space by far. Why is that important to us? Our cabinetry is light, but we have drawers. So we have a place for everything on a Balance Catamaran. And that's just a really important part of our boat. And I always tell people, if you're trying to compare Balance to other catamaran manufacturers, you should always ask, well, what kind of square cubic volume am I getting in terms of my cabinetry and storage? And is the cabinetry that I'm buying real wood veneers and handmade and fitted directly to each boat? None of these things are made at some factory and just plugged in place on our boats. They're all made in our factory, handmade, custom, bespoke, just for the customer. Another change on the 502 is the all-new tooled Saloon coach roof has a recess in it, so that currently, if you look at a Balance Catamaran, you'll see that we have frames, composite frames, and we mount the solar panels on top of inside composite frames, which we then mount on the top of the coach roof. So they stick up visibly and you can see them. Now we built a recess cavity into our Saloon roof so we can accept the new 430 watt solar panels, and they remain flush with the deck. But we also mount them in a cavity that lifts them up so that we continue to get that wonderful airflow that we know you need to get full performance out of your solar panels. And we also, of course, continue to only use individual regulators for each panel. So now the coach roof just has a really, really clean, clean look, but the panels will still be getting lots of airflow in them. We've adjusted the helm seat a little bit on the down helm seat, made it a little bit wider, a little bit more cush, because we're finding that when people are on watch and doing passage making, a lot of people like to have the Versa helm in the down position and sit there. So we, after feedback, we decided let's make it a little bit wider, a little bit more cush. So we did that as well. Another thing that we've done on the 502 is that in front of the forward berths on the boat, there are 2 lockers which lift up, which are sail lockers or fender lockers, etc., etc. Now, when you lift up those lockers, at the back of the locker, there is an opening vent that comes right into the wall in the front of the bedroom. When you're at anchor, you can leave that up, and there's a vent inside the bedroom, and air will just be blasting through both those cabins, frontally, right through into the boat. It's going to be really unbelievable, actually. I think it's going to be like forced air cooling. And interestingly, what I found when my wife and I had our 482, that when we were in the Caribbean and we anchored the boat with a forward berth with the hatch up over the bed, we never used our aircon in the Caribbean. As long as we were at anchor, we got a little airflow. But now the advantage of these is that you'll get airflow through those. You can get airflow through the top port. And if it's raining, you can drop your top hatch, but you'll still be able to get ventilation even when it's raining through both of those berths. In addition, all that air is going to be flushing all the way down through the boat. And there's windows at the back of each cabin, both in the bathroom and the owner's bathroom on one side and in the port aft cabin, windows that can be opened up under the steps, also in the rain, so the boat can always get flow through ventilation. People talk about ventilation. I am telling you, you're not going to get any better ventilation on a catamaran than on these new Balance catamarans. There's actually all kinds of other innovations in the boat and product changes and things that happen through our evolution as a company. We're in a best practices mode all the time. We listen to our customers. We hear what they have to say. So I'm not going to go into all the little details of other small elements in the boat. Importantly, understand that all of the important things that everybody has loved about Balance catamarans will continue. We will continue to have our groundbreaking Versa helm with our 360 sight lines from up top and down below. We'll continue to have the down helm seat. We'll continue to offer people the ability to custom choose their boats. We'll continue to offer, as I said, our all-wood cabinetry. We have really upped the carbon content in our boats. We've improved the sail plan of the boat, and we've worked closely with the mentioned Polyant in Germany to produce another new version of the RDL fabric that is really fantastic. We strengthened it vertically and horizontally and changed the color of the taffeta. And now the sails, instead of being kind of a darker gray, are actually black, and they are really, really cool looking. So I'm very excited about this new fabric. It's been fun having this partnership with Ullman Sails and Dimension Polyant as we work together to create the finest sails that we can for our boats, and yet still keep them in an affordable range for a performance cat. We really encourage you to follow us throughout the build process of the 502 as we've done with our previous boats. We are a super transparent company. We want you to understand, here's how we build our boats. Here's the people that build our boats. Here's the materials that we use on the construction of our boat to follow the process of these new 502s coming to life from the yard. And that's an important part of Balance. Our transparency with our customers, our transparency with you as a consumer. And we're on this constant quest to be the best. And when you want to be the best, you cannot rest. And that's why we did this new model, and we're really excited about it. And we hope we'll get a chance to meet you at a boat show. We can tell you all about the boat. I hope you've enjoyed this video and the comments and the brief discussion that I've made about this new model and some of the changes to it. But if you have any questions or comments, just post them on our YouTube channel, and we'll get our staff and people to answer as quickly as we can. And of course, if you're quite serious about discussing a balanced catamaran, you know how to get a hold of us. So do get a hold of us, and until then, stay in balance.